Today we're installing irrigation in our raised bed garden. This install was truly quick and easy. I had my GoPro running for the entire install, and even with adding in some extra shots or takes for filming, the entire footage lasted less than 15 minutes. This is an addition you definitely want to have in your garden, so stick around to the very end of the video. Let's get our homework done. Here we go. Grab a cup of coffee. Let's jump right into the video. Here are the parts and pieces to put in the irrigation. We've got some straight line fittings, tube coupling to attach the drip line runs to the main line. Got some goof plugs. These are really just in case of other issues. Got some 90-degree fittings, elbows. We use this right as they come out of the top of the riser. Here are the shut-off valves. Amazing how small these things are. And we've just got some tubing. This will be what we use to run from the brown tubing, the 1/2 inch, up to the irrigation in the garden. And then this is actually the drip line. And we've got, it's 1/2 gallon per hour run. I'll show you how that runs out there. And we just have tubing cutter. And then the conduit and such we'll use to run the tubing down to the ground. We shot this video in the fall, just after we finished cleaning up the garden. Being fall, there's a lot of geese on the bay and some strong winds blowing out my microphone. So please bear with me as I do play-by-play on this video. I feel like I'm channeling my inner Red Green, narrating adventures with Bill in his home videos. Keep your stick on the ice. Our garden is just under 2 feet wide, so we will run our drip loop at approximately 12 inches on center, 6 inches off the walls. This will essentially center the tube in each row or 1 foot wide planting squares. With the garden being 6 feet long, running the loop in 6 inches from each end will give us around 2 5-foot runs worth of tubing. The total length of the tubing in the loop will be around 11 to 12 feet of tube. With emitters on 6-inch centers, this will give us around 22 or so emitter points. With each emitter outputting about 1/2 gallon per hour, this will irrigate my garden with around 11 to 12 gallons of water per hour of watering. We're starting out with a 1/4 inch line to run from the landscape tubing below to our emitters tubing up in the garden. Some people call this spaghetti tubing. Let's crank up the cameras. We're running it all the way through the conduit I installed during the garden build. If you don't have a conduit or route to run this tubing inside your garden, you could just run this tube down the outside corner if you like, tuck it in back maybe if you want it out of sight. The next step was to make the conduit elbow black for aesthetic reasons. I did not want to have to keep painting it, so I used some outdoor ready electrical tape. Wrapping this was probably the longest process of my install. Now it's just a simple matter of making sure enough length of tubing is pulled. You'll have extra, so cut it long at this point. These are the 90-degree barbed elbows we saw earlier. These will be used to transition from the spaghetti tubing to the emitter tubing at the top of the conduit riser. These are real simple to install. Simply press them into the tube opening. It works best if the tubing is warm. Just twist and press until they are seated. As I mentioned earlier, we're using 1/2 gallon per hour drip tubing with the emitters on 6-inch centers. This will put out 1 gallon per hour per foot of tubing. Be sure to freshly cut the start of your tubing to guarantee that it's cleanly cut off square. Simply press the tubing onto the barbed 90. These are examples of tubing support stakes. There are a number of options out there. It's possible to just lay the tubing on the soil also. But using the stakes help keep the tubing in place better and reduce the chance of the emitters being clogged. Just clip the tubing onto the stake and press the stake into the soil at the desired location. Some of the geese honking for you. some of that wind we talked about. After the tubing is run, just cut the tube to the correct length. In order to fit the barb connectors, don't cut on an emitter. These are the goof plugs. Here's a close-up showing the two different ends of the plugs for either use. Besides plugging holes you may have inadvertently punched into your half-inch tubing, these are also used to plug the end of the 1/4-inch emitter tubing run. At this point, it's just a matter of tidying up the layout. There is a close-up of the 90-degree elbow. And there's a close-up of the goof plug installed. Here's our 1/4-inch spaghetti tube run to an exposed landscape drip tube that was uncovered while we installed the garden. We will install a shutoff valve on the supply run to turn off the irrigation if desired. Again, look at how small these are. These are the straight barb connections. One will be used to connect the spaghetti tubing to the 1/2-inch drip tubing. This is an installation tool for the drip irrigation parts. This end has a point to pierce the 1/2-inch tubing, which is cradled between the two ears on the sides. The other end is helpful for seating the connectors into the new hole just created. Here's how fast and simple it is to make the connection. If you don't have a current irrigation tubing in the location of your garden, new tubing run could be run, or this could simply be a run back to your hose or a hose bib. Many adapter and timer options are available. Now we simply have to bury the tubing in the mulch, install the shutoff valve. Installing it is just a matter of cutting the tubing at the desired location and pressing the valve onto the tube just like the connectors. There's the valve installed. That was quick and easy, completed in less than 15 minutes. Here you can see that just after a little bit of running, the water profile coming out of the drip emitters, darker. Hey, thanks for watching, and please subscribe so that you get notified when our next video hits the air. In our next video, we're going to show you choices we made in our first year and some of the changes we made in our second year planting. And we'll show off a bumper crop that we received throughout the year. And if you haven't seen it, check out our earlier video guiding you through building a raised bed garden the simple way.